Okay, buddy. So let's keep on practicing through our trig identities here. So if A is equal to 3 feet and B is equal to 45 feet, or 45 degrees, woo! Then what is the length of B and C? Okay, let's do that first. So we got 45 degrees here. We've got A equal to 3. We don't have enough to use Pythagorean theorem. So we're going to have to use our trig identities. So first thing we're going to do is to name things. This is opposite. This is hypotenuse. This is adjacent. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and write down my three trig functions. I've got cosine of 45 is equal to 3 over hypotenuse. Okay. Sine of 45 is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. And tan of 45 is equal to opposite over 3. Okay, so I can't solve that one, at least not yet, but these two I can solve and it would give me everything I needed. So let's go ahead and plug those in. So first off, I'm going to solve for this one right here. I've got to do a little bit of trigonometry, or a little bit of algebra, so let's do that part together. First, I'm going to multiply both sides by hypotenuse. So what I'll get is hypotenuse cosine of 45 degrees is equal to 3. Then I'm going to divide both sides by cosine of 45. If you're not really strong in your algebra, make sure that you're taking your time to write down all your steps. Because one, that'll help me later if I'm looking at your work and trying to figure out where things went wrong, so I can see exactly what you did step by step. What this gives me is that my hypotenuse is equal to 4.24. Okay, I got one. Now let's do the next one. So tan of 45 is equal to opposite over 3. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. That cancels on that side. And so I get the opposite is equal to 3 tan of 45. I'm going to plug in my calculator. 3 times tan of 45 comes out to be, wow, it's exactly 3. Nice. Okay, so I've got both of those done. 3, 3, and 4.24. Happy days. Okay, now we've done one. Let's go ahead and keep on moving on and do the rest. Lots of stuff to erase here. Lots of stuff to erase. If you're like, wait a second, I didn't have enough time to write that down. It's a video, dude. It's a video. Just go ahead and go back and watch the video. Okay, now if A is equal to 30 degrees, and the angle A is equal to 30 degrees, and the side A is 4.5 feet, what's the length of B and C? Okay, let's go ahead and erase all our stuff over here too. Putting in our angle for A, which is 30. We're naming our sides. This is opposite. This is adjacent. This is hypotenuse. This is adjacent because it goes straight through it. This is opposite because I have to point an arrow straight across to it. And now let's see what we can do here. Okay, so first off, A is equal to 4.5 feet, so I know that one. I don't know the rest. Well, let's write out our trig identities again. So cosine of 30 is going to be equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. I don't know either one of those, so it's not all that helpful. Sine of 30 is equal to opposite of hypotenuse. And hey, this guy right here, 4.5 is opposite, so I know that one, 4.5 over hypotenuse. And then finally, tan of 30 is equal to opposite, which is 4.5, over adjacent. Okay, so let me go ahead and solve for all of these. And hopefully it won't take me too terribly long. Okay, first off, we'll do this guy. So I multiply both sides by hypotenuse. And so I'm left with hypotenuse times sine of 30 is equal to 4.5. And then I divide both sides by the hypotenuse, by sine of 30. So that cancels, and I have hypotenuse is equal to 4.5 over sine of 30, which is equal to 9. Okay, I've got one of them now. Now let's do this tangent one right here. As a note, I don't have to do the tangent one. I could use Pythagorean theorem because I now know two of the sides. If you know two of the sides of the right triangle, you know the third using Pythagorean theorem. But we're not going to worry about that too much right this second. Let's go ahead and run through this. So we're going to solve for this guy right now. So tan of 30 is equal to 4.5 over adjacent. I'm going to multiply both sides by adjacent. Adjacent tan of 30. Okay, so that cancels on that side. Fantastic. And then adjacent is equal to 4.5 over tan of 30. Perfect. So what is that? Let me plug it into my calculator and find out. 4.5 divided by tan of 30. And I get that's equal to 7.79. Okay, 7.79. I've got it. Okay, so we got my two sides here. I got everything I needed. Done the problem. Nice. And to make things simple myself, I'm going to erase all the ink on the slide. There we go. That's the faster way of doing it. Okay. If C is equal to 12 meters and A is equal to 35, what is the length of A and B? Let's keep practicing. So I got 12 here. A is 35 degrees. So, like always, we're going to name everything. So this guy's opposite. This guy is adjacent. This one is the hypotenuse. We have our names now. Now let's write down our three trig functions. So sine of 35 is equal to opposite over 12, because I know what the hypotenuse is. Cosine of 35 is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse, which I know is 12. And then tan of 35 is equal to opposite over adjacent. Okay. So I've got those three now. And they're looking pretty good. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and solve them. So what I get is that my opposite is going to be, I multiply 12 on both sides. Okay, multiply 12 on both sides for this one too, saving some time. And so I see that opposite is going to be equal to 12 sine of 35. Adjacent is equal to 12 cosine of 35. And I plug those in. What do I get? 12 sine of 35 equals 6.88, and then 12 cosine of 35. And that's going to be equal to 9.83. Perfect. We got it. 6.88, 9.83. We're done. So you can see that this process is the same every single time. And if you follow the process every single time, it will always go right. Now, here's a question for you. What is the value of angle B from the previous problem? I've ruined myself in the fact that I don't have erased all my numbers. Oh, that's painful. That is so painful. But that's okay. I can have one of them in my calculator, so we can still do it. Okay, so let's see right here. We had 12 for this side. And we had an angle of 35 here. And we had that this guy was equal to 9.82. Let's figure out what that one was. And this one was 6.9, more or less. Okay, what is the value of angle B? So this is something that's slightly different. And I'm going to give you two ways of doing it. So the first way is we use our trig functions. So I can pick any two of these sides that include angle B. So I want to choose, this is my angle now. And so I'm going to say, okay, adjacent over hypotenuse. So cosine of angle B is equal to 6.9 over 12. Now, what you have in your calculator is usually you either have a shift button or sometimes a second button. If you click that, then when you hit the cosine, it will give you instead cosine to the -1. Or sometimes it calls it a cosine. What you need to do is you're going to do cosine -1 of 6.9 over 12. What it will pop out is an angle. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to hit Shift, cosine, 6.9 divided by 12. And what I get is that that's equal to 54.9 degrees. 54.9 degrees. It's actually technically 55, it's just I rounded my numbers here and that threw it off just a little bit. Now, if you're wondering to yourself, Dr. Kidd, I don't have a fancy calculator. How am I going to do all these problems? There is an app. It is free. It is called Hyper-V. Okay, Hyper-V. You can plug it into your interwebs. Let me make sure I'm actually spelling it right. Let's see here. I did it wrong, sorry. Not with a Y, being too edgy. Hyper-V. Or you might also see Hyper Scientific Calculator. And just so you know, it is free and is on both Android and iOS devices. So even if you have a horrible iPhone, it is available to you. Apple, please don't sue me. Okay, so with that being done, we've finished out that problem. But I said I was going to show you a second way of solving that problem. I wanted to go ahead and do that now. And what you don't know is that for a triangle, if I were to add up all three angles, so we'll just call this, angle 1 plus angle 2 plus angle 3. That's always going to be equal to 180 degrees. That's for any triangle. Any type of triangle at all, it's always equal to 180 degrees. Which, since I knew two of the angles, 90 and 35, I wanted to find the third angle. We'll call that one, let's see, B. I know it's equal to 180. Well, that means 125 plus B equals 180. B is equal to 55. So that is the answer there. That is how we do it. Okay, now let's keep on going. We're going to finish all these, and then we'll stop for here and continue on next time. Okay, if B is equal to 2 inches and A is equal to 1 inch, what is angle B and A? So let's do this right there. That's 1. That is 2. I got those. What is angle B and A? Well, if I'm going to figure out B and A, I'm going to need to know what my hypotenuse is. It's going to make it a lot easier on me. So I'm going to go ahead and use Pythagorean theorem to do that. So A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. I get 1 plus 4 is equal to C squared. So C is equal to the square root of 5. And what does that come out to be? Let's find out. Square root of 5, you are 2.23. Okay. Now I have my three sides. I can move on from there. Next thing I need to do is use a trig function for both of these guys, or actually just one of them, to solve. I'm going to just do it with A. And I can choose any trig function I want because I know all three sides now. I could have done it before just using tan, but I like practicing with Pythagorean. And so we're going to use sine. Why sine? I just chose it. So sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Well, for this angle A, this is opposite, that's hypotenuse. So sine of A is equal to 1 over 2.23. Now, remember, this is where you have to use that second or shift button in your calculator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in shift, then hit the sine button, and it should show you something like this. Usually that's how it comes up in your calculator. And I'm going to put that around the ratio. And that popped out 26.6 degrees. Okay, so with that I have two of the angles. So I know that 180 is going to be equal to 90, because that angle right there is 90, plus 26.6, plus B, which I don't know yet. So this right here is 116.6 plus B, and 180 minus 116.6. That means that B is equal to 63.4 degrees. Cool. So we have all three of our sides now, all three of our angles. We're doing great here. It's going really good. Okay, erasing all the ink on the slide. Now, like I said, don't forget that the sum of all the angles in triangle is always 180 degrees. That can really help you out with these problems. Oh, so let's stop there for now. Thank you all for your attention, and I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.